We're going to look at why it's important to hold Bitcoin on your own, not with any other company, not with any other institution, and not with any untrusted parties, because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to own your money. So Bitcoin is something that will allow you to fully own your money through the digital technology and the invention that was made in Bitcoin. And so we're going to delve into a little bit in this very small presentation is give even more activation energy to help you guys be able to take the steps you need to own your own money. This is the HOLD, and it came out as HODL. The internet loves these types of tricks. But then it became the HODL, became an acronym for Hold On for Dear Life. When somebody offers you a soundbite about Bitcoin, you want to hold it for as long and as safely as possible. The private keys. Moving Bitcoin can be a complexly analog world. It's like sending a check. Do you remember sending checks back in the paper days? Right, you had to send the check, you put the date, the amount, and who you were sending it to. But you also had to sign the check, right? It needed the signature. The signature is your authentication to be able to move the money from point A, where you had it, over to the person you want to send it to. Bitcoin works in a really simple way. It needs a signature. The digital key is a unique signature. If you own the key or the signature, you can authorize the transfer of money. If you don't have that key or that signature, you cannot authorize the transfer of funds. So this is why Bitcoin say, not your keys, not your homes. Money from A to B. And if you can see here, we have a section where I can generate a wallet based on 12 words. I can have 3, 6, 9, 12, 24. Today we're going to use 12. Okay? I want to have this in English. I'm going to generate some random entropy. You can see here, so it's just come up with my 12 words here. East, acid, bounce, nations, art, search, color, etc. But if we delve a little bit further, we're going to look at the entropy details. Okay. Now this is really, really key, but this is the why. You see all of these ones and zeros? This is how computers speak to each other. They're electronic machines, they either send the pulse or they don't. It's on, off. This set of ones and zeros is the signature of this wallet I just made. Super, super, super hard to write down correctly, nearly impossible to remember, and very open to error, but extremely random, extremely unique. And this is why we have the words. The words basically we move from binary into alphanumeric, and from alphanumeric we move into these words. So if I was to say to you 1 0 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 1 0 0, it's all gobbledygook for us humans. We actually condense the digital information and index it into 12 words. And these 12 words can be remembered, they can be written down, they can be copied, you can hand them to your children or your spouse, and you can give that signature of those keys to anybody who holds those words. That's the hard work we're starting to do. You don't have to master any of that, but some people might be curious about why 12 words, how does it work? Behind it is a lot of complex mathematical equations to cover. So, with a bit of a how, okay. So if we're in a wallet, what we can do is we can jump in here, and we can actually go ahead and we can review the passwords. So in every type of wallet, there are these 12 C words, and these are super important. And I think it's so important that I'd like to read the entire page with you guys. So whenever you start up a Bitcoin wallet, your C phrase, it should be the one that's about to be shown. Make sure you're in a secure and private location where no one can see your screen. This phrase is your key to accessing your wallet and your funds, so keep it confidential. Safe environment, sensitive information, and again, make sure you have a safe environment. If you lose or forget the words, you will also lose your funds. So I've been helping people transfer money onto their wallets today, and just before we leave, I say,
Okay, we transferred, I don't know, $3,000 onto your wallet. So how much is a piece of paper worth? $3,000. If I had $3,000 of Canadian cash in my back pocket, we checked my back pocket when I left the restaurant, when I went to the bar, and I certainly wouldn't just throw it into my kitchen later. I put it somewhere safe. Because these pieces of paper, that's how you get into the Bitcoin wallet. That's your signature. And it's a digital signature. So you've got to make sure it's protected and offline. I can actually see my words on the screen. You see the yellow bits, that small flickers in the back. But these Microsoft words, but they're not being shared on the screen. Like I said, the guys who make these applications are working super hard to protect your privacy and your identity. But what we can do is we'll be able to write down these words, and I'm going to do them. But before we do, let's just maybe add some fun. Let's go some scheming in here. Okay, so right now, I have $1 on me. Let's kind of put the answer. And let's just receive some funds into here. I think a liquid address, and I'll have it open to we're going to head into Coinbase. So that Coinbase, we have full Bitcoin. So all Bitcoin has their own wallet, and we're working on the Bitcoin wallet as we speak, but it's not quite available yet on iOS. So this is why I'm using my Android, but it looks very similar. All wallets is very similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to send a bit of money onto this liquid address. It's like $25 or something there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and send that across. I can see I'm on a transaction. I can confirm that. $25.01 for the fee, a small amount there. I'm going to broadcast it out. I'm going to send it across. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to jump in here. We can see my balance has jumped up a little bit. Now I've got $19 in this wallet. It's okay, great. I managed to buy some Bitcoin and sold the guys that hold Bitcoin and I bought $20. But what I gotta do now is I go back to that. So I'm just gonna take a second and do this. I mean, every receipt place. I take my piece of paper and my pen, accept the terms, and I'm gonna write these down. Now what's super important is not just the words themselves, but the order of the words. This is word number 1, word number 2, word number 3, 4, and so on. If I gave you 12 words, and I asked you to guess what is the correct order of those words, it would take quite a long time. So you always have to make sure that you write down the words in the correct order. So I'm going to take a second now, and whilst I'm doing that actually, I'm going to just ask you to maybe hand out some of these. You can take them home with you, or even today, and set up your wallet, and you can do the same process. So when you walk away from here today, it's a relatively big room. You can take the time to pack up your wallet with me in the room. I can come around and help you out. We can actually get something done with the 30 minutes that's remaining so that even if you don't want to buy Bitcoin today, even if you think it's something that you might get into never, it's a free application you can download and it's a great thought exercise to just feel a little bit like you're experimenting with Bitcoin. So I saw words, which is also great, $25. The danger of taking a picture of this is that it will digitize this unique signature, store it on my telephone, and on my Apple. It uses the iCloud. So there goes my secret onto the iCloud. There goes my money onto the iCloud. And there goes my financial freedom onto the iCloud. If anything happens with my username or my password, they'll have access to this. $25, maybe $25,000, right? Also, I'm trusting Apple to hold my signature. You don't want to do this. These applications, Apple, or Bitcoin, I'm not sure, all the applications you see, their security locked down so that these words are not leaked. As you can see on my screen here, they're not leaking my words. I get primary looking at them. And the answer is 2 possibilities. I think in Ben's workshop, we create a wallet, right? Yeah. So this is what we'll usually do. We'll create a wallet, we'll have zero balance, and we'll have our coins. This is a brand new cell phone, but I have my backup words. So we're going to click on restore wallet. Set these terms here, and restore the wallet. It says get your seed phrase ready. Good news, I have it. You can store your wallet using the 12-word phrase that you wrote down during the wallet backup process. Only seed phrase generated in Angular are supported. So let's go. We're going to write down. We'll be able to see it now. So if you guys are quick, they're trying to find out, that's the challenge. So my first word is Angular. The second is Malin. And there's no other way to do this. There's no other way to see it. I have to write these in. So I want to get to the 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, right? So this is actually a quicker way of doing it. I can be there. And they're all pretty simple words. We have more than 3 syllables. In fact, they're distinguishable by the first 4 letters. So after typing the first 4 letters of the word, we've already limited it down to 1 word possibility. So as you can see, it's auto-completing on the bottom for me as well, because it even has the list of words. I go C, O, R. We've got a few options, but as soon as I go C, O, R, R, we know that that's the right word. The 9th one is actually shorter. We've got G, A, you know it's A. And we're just recovering a wallet here, basically. But you've got to imagine this is kind of a casual setup. But imagine you had a lot of money in the Bitcoin wallet. I've only got $25 here. But imagine $25,000. Imagine $250,000. It's going to be any amount of Bitcoin that you recover from this way. This is not really your customer support of your bank. We do verification, we send you an email, we send you a text. You just enter in your $12. So my last time is guitar, and hopefully I got this right. Let me just double check. Yes,
I didn't see where we connected the bank account.
right, in fact, maybe to just break this down, this is an application that will hold your Bitcoin. It's nothing to do with Bull Bitcoin in terms of the exchange. Some people today ask me, it's a really good question. Bull Bitcoin is a place to buy and sell the Bitcoin. But because you don't hold it, this is where you would hold your Bitcoin in your wallet.
So you have to attach to the Bull Bitcoin.
Exactly. In fact, you can buy and sell Bitcoin through any service. This could be a friend at a restaurant selling your Bitcoin into Apple. Or you could go to Australia, you can decide to live on the other side of the world and set up an account that sells Bitcoin in Australia and receive that as well. This is almost like your email inbox. You can send and receive digital information.
Okay.
Just like with a Gmail account, you can send money, you can communicate with friends and family, but you can also have an access point, all types of systems. I actually have my $20 balance that was recovered. Not only that, but if you look at it, all the history of my transactions was recovered as well. So we can go from a brand new phone that I bought a day or two ago, and we put those 12 little words in. 12 words, imagine that's 12 small words can give you all of your transaction history, and you can migrate your wealth any way you want across the globe on a small piece of paper. So it's quite funny actually, when people ask me, I was in the United States recently, and when you cross the border, they usually ask me, do you have more than $10,000 in cash on you? Of course I said no. I didn't have cash, but I had a heck of a lot of Bitcoin on me. But do I have it with me? I have my 12 words. So yes, but that's a key to the Bitcoin. It's the signature to my Bitcoin. So this is how it is with freedom money as well, because it can move from border to border, from state to province. It can move anywhere you want, because the signature is the most important thing to your Bitcoin. And that's why we say that we give these Bitcoin. I'll just wrap up. I can see some people with kind of off hands up, and some people want to ask some questions. I'll just do this one last part, and then we'll finish up. So just to clarify one more time, your wallet is where your key is stored. Right now we're looking at Apple, which is on my cell phone, which is connected to the internet. Everybody asks me, how much should I keep on my cell phone? It's a really popular question. and it just depends on how much you're comfortable with, to be quite honest. I can keep up to 1,000, 10,000, any more than 10,000 myself, I'm like, this is crazy. So I moved it to what we call a cold wallet. And this is a device where your key, or your signature, isn't ever connected to the internet. And my analogy for this, I have an analogy that helps some people. Imagine you start up a business. You're a one-person business. You work in construction. When you need to pay your bills, you pay in checks, you're pretty old school. You sign your checks. And you hand them as the person you're going to pay for. But if years down the line your business gets really successful, you start having employees, and you become the director of the company, and then you have an administration team and secretaries. So the secretary can draft the check. Secretary can write the amount, the date, where to send it, but they will always need the director of the company to sign the check, right? So that analogy of a paper check is reflected in Bitcoin. If you can separate the person who drafts the check from the person who signs the check, it's always the director that will be able to send. But the secretary could receive. So this is how the whole works. It separates the signature from the internet. So your digital signature is protected at all times from malware, viruses, hacking, or even somebody just accidentally put something up on your computer in a coffee shop when you're in the wash. So leaving those things at home fine is super safe way to store a lot of money. Alright, some best practices. And we'll wrap up on that. I do have time and stuff, and I'm going to sit there and walk around. We can maybe have a good discussion and some questions. So best practices, never leave your Bitcoin on an exchange. I work for an exchange. We allow people to buy and sell large amounts of Bitcoin on a daily basis. But our Bitcoin business is structured so that we will never hold your money on our exchange. If you wake up on Monday morning and you start scrolling the news, or you read the newspaper if you're an old school person, and you're reading the news and you see Bull Bitcoin was hacked. It's a bad day for Padma, but for you guys who bought and sold Bitcoin with us, it doesn't change a thing. You're not calling us up in a panic. You're not asking what we want. You're not texting your friends that you're okay. If we were to get hacked, or go offline, or go broke, or be seized by the government, I don't know what could happen to our business, but you shouldn't place your trust in us. We structure the business so that you don't have to. You will always own a Bitcoin, whether it be in a hot wallet or a cold wallet. We want to put you in a position of trust, but not all exchanges do that. A lot of them do want to have a Bitcoin, and we've had experiences with the banking sector where your money is over invested somewhere else. We've had the same experience in the Bitcoin sector with FTX and people like that. They take your Bitcoin, they invest it somewhere else, they do risky stuff with your money, and if ever they mess it up, you're back to zero. Especially in Bitcoin, because there's no insurance on any type of Bitcoin that comes like that, any type of exchange. So never keep your Bitcoin on an exchange. Never enter 12 or 24 words online. Never project into a group. If anybody remember them, you will have 25. I'd like to see somebody swipe on 25 bucks on me. I trust this group. I leave more than 25 bucks on the table. Never try to see trades digitally, and it comes down to you taking a photo of it. Check your recovery plan. Like I just checked out my loads early. So I know this list of words is good. Check it out. You remember when you used to go to school and on the first week of school they always test out a fire drill? You know, there'd be a fire alarm that would go off to make sure that the waves to the exits. Testing out the recovery phase before you put a large amount of money onto it is testing out the fire escape. You want to know that if you lose your phone or your cold wallet with a lot of money in it for your children's futures, you want to know that this list of words was written down correctly and correctly read in books. So you can recover your wallet before you load it with your money. And don't use a storage solution that exceeds your technical ability. This is a key one as well. Everybody wants to double down and have the most secure setup. But the more security things we're putting in place, the harder they are to recover eventually. So move slow. In the military, they have this phrase, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Move slow with your strategy as you go through this type of thing. And always reach out to myself, full Bitcoin team, or the mentors, and we'll happily hold your hands throughout all of the process. Program, and we will be happy to walk you through the process. Also, we've got the referral as well, if you guys want to create an account, but I just really like to have it on the point here, it will become all your money. And it might not look like much, but this small piece of paper here is me owning my money. The $25 in this roll is mine. I can take it anywhere. It doesn't depend on Google. It doesn't depend on Apple. It doesn't depend on this computer or the cell phone. It's really as simple as writing in the $12. Put it in somewhere safe. Put it somewhere safe.